What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr War Games, and today I am bringing you a tier list for all of the secrets from Photon Hypernova. That's right, by this point we have seen all 10 secrets in the Photon Hypernova set. And to be fair, some of these are actually looking amazing. I'll put an image up on the screen of basically what looks like a case opening, so you can see all of the secrets that have been pulled. No surprise that some of these are only seeing 2 versions of it. It doesn't look like you're getting more than 3 of an individual secret, but that's just from one case. There's got plenty more to come. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. As you can see, I have split these down into 5 different sections. Money, so cards that are just insanely expensive at pre-order right now, or will have some future money involved. And then you've got if you have the rest, so cards that if you have not got the rest of the cards, there is no point in even getting, and you might want to get rid of, or if you want to be looking into getting the rest of the cards, you can do. Cards that you should wait on, cards that will definitely be going down in price from their pre-order values, or cards that are just not worth picking up right away. I've then put meh. And meh basically means it's an okay card. It's nothing that you should be spending ridiculous amounts of money on, but it's something that you might want to be looking at in the future, especially with stuff that comes out that will support it later on. And then, of course, the final one is future investments. So these are just cards that we don't know a lot about it because they may be TCG exclusives, but in the future they always seem to get a bit more of a bump. We are still waiting for the OCG to get Goatee, so when they get that, that might be an upgrade. And, of course, the brand new TCG exclusive is Golden Pride. So let's start off with the basic ones. Now we're going to start off with the Kashtiras. Now we'll start off with the Kashtira Arise Heart. This is probably the most expensive card right now in my opinion. And this card, the reason it is so expensive is it will fit in multiple decks. So it reads as follows. Once per turn, you can also XYZ summon a Rise Heart by using a Cash monster you control. If an effect of the Cash Shangri-La was successfully activated this turn, transfer its materials to this card. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. And once per chain, each time a card or cards is banished, attach one banished card to this card as material. Once per turn, quick effect, you can detach 3 materials from this card, target a card on the field, and banish it face down. Now, it's once per chain to reattach, so it can constantly keep getting materials, but it's only once per turn that it can banish. And it is a soft once per turn, so if you have multiple Rise Hearts, you will be in, basically, the good books. And keep in mind, it's once per turn, so it requires 3 level 7 monsters, or once per turn, you also get to XYZ summon it by using a Cash monster you control. Well, everyone is playing Fenrir, so this card is definitely sitting in a money slot. It is also going to go under if you have the rest as well, but right now, in my opinion, the fact that everyone can now play one of this in their extra deck and they upgrade, they can upgrade their Fenrir into a Rise Heart, or if they're able to get 2 Fenrirs on the board, broken, and go from there. So definitely the money card of the set, in my opinion. Then we'll look at the other cash cards, just to go through all 3 of these. Right now, the other spell cards, well, it's called Papias in the OCG, but it's actually called Kashtira Theosis, I believe it is. So you target a Kashtira monster you control, special on 1 cash monster with a different attribute from the deck in defense position, and the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special on monsters from the extra deck except XYZs. If this card is banished, you can target one of your banished Kashtira cards, accept itself, and add it to your hand. Only use each effect once per turn. Now, it locks you into XYZs after, so you can do whatever you want before. And the fact that it just special summons any cash from the deck, keeping in mind that it basically just gives you more materials on the board. It is insane. It is a money card. It's currently going for £50, but it is one of them ones where it is if you have the rest. If you don't have the rest of the Kashtira cards, there is no point in getting this card. And then the other Kashtira card, which again pretty much falls in the same category, is the Pressured Planet. So when this card is activated, you get to add 1 cash monster from your deck to the hand. Monsters you control gain 100 attack and defense for each different attribute on the field. If a Cash Shangri-La you control activates an effect, except during the damage step, you get to target 1 card on the field and destroy it. You can only use each effect once per turn, and you can only activate 1 planet per turn. So again, quite like the field spell for Tier Elements, this card is definitely pre-order prices at £50, but it's also another one of the ones where if you have the rest. I can't imagine people are going to play like 3 of this and 1 Fenrir, or 3 of this and 2 Fenrir. It just clogs out the engine. So it's definitely not a staple money card, or like a money card if you have Fenrir, like the Arise Heart, but it's definitely still a high valued card. Now let's flip down to the other end. Let's look at a card that is pretty meh. So this is called White Bridge. Now what I mean by meh is if your opponent controls 2 or more monsters than you do, your opponent must send monsters they control to the graveyard so they only control 1. Now the effect is really, really good. The issue is it's a trap card, and quite like I think it's very difficult because it means they have to control 2 or more monsters than you, which means you need to be able to slow your resource down. It also means that because it's a normal trap card, it can be stopped, it can be negated, and the chances are if your opponent is going to have 2 or more monsters than you, unless you are just going to set 5 and pass, it's going to be very, very tricky to kind of deal with. Now, it will be good, I believe, more effective when we get the trap tricks. So arguably it could go under future investment, but I'm also going to put it into meh. It's one of these cards I feel after a while might drop down to about £5 a copy. Then you swing in, pick them up, and that's when you're pretty much set for something like Trap Trick. I feel with Bystials running around, a Eldritch deck isn't as effective as it could be, and the rest of the control cards can be very, very difficult. I mean, if this was like an evenly matched and could be activated from the hand, it would be called evenly matched just without a battle phase. So, still really kind of cool. Now, let's have a look at the future investments. So, let's look at the brand new TCG exclusive Golden Pride. So we start off with Gold Pride Leon. Now, Leon is also the promo from Sneak Events, but it is also a secret in the main set. This is a brand new TCG exclusive that will utilize synchro plays. So if your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can special on this card from the hand. If this card is normal or special, you get to target one non-warrior Gold Pride monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense. You cannot special on monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Gold Pride monsters. During your during your opponent's main phase, you can, quick effect, immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon one synchro monster using only Gold Pride monsters you control. Now, the rest of the Gold Pride cards are Supers, Commons, and Ultras. It is a kind of okay card, but the issue is that restriction of locking you into Gold Pride right now means that it is a future investment. It's not an engine you can splash into other decks like Punks. It is not a deck that can be utilized and abused in everything else. And the fact that it only lets you get into Golden Pride synchros, yes, their new synchro at the moment is okay, but it does mean that the future investment of this set, if they do get the correct level of support, could be absolutely insane. So it's definitely one of the ones where I wouldn't pick up on release. I'd probably wait a little bit, let them drop again, possibly hit a low of around £5 a copy, and then you can swing in and pick them up. Continuing on with Gold Pride, we have the other secret, which is Gold Pride, The Crowd Goes Wild. Reveal one Gold Pride monster in your hand to add a Gold Pride monster with a different name from your deck to the hand, and then you get to apply the following effect. Special summon a Gold Pride monster from your hand, but lose life points equal to its original attack. You can only activate one Gold Pride, The Crowd Goes Wild per turn. Now, the reason that this card is so good, and the reason it is also going into future investment, is the fact that you could pretty much reveal any Gold Pride card in your hand, and then you get to add the Gold Pride warrior that we just talked about in Leon, and then you lose your life points, you special summon the one you've revealed, you then get to special summon down at Leon because you control or you have life points less than your opponent. So it's really kind of cool. They do have more synergy. It would be worth, in my opinion, picking up the core if you like the way that it looks and the way that it's going to look going forward, and it's something for you to kind of pick up on and consider as well. Then we're going to look at the Galaxy card. Now, this is the only Galaxy card, not even the cover card, that got a secret, and this is Galaxy Photon Dragon. So it's 2 level 4 monsters, so generic, nice. All other light monsters you control gain 500 attack. You can only use each of the following effects of Galaxy Photon Dragon once per turn. Detach one material from this card, take a Photon or Galaxy card from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. If a light monster or monsters that has a level is special summoned to your field, except during the damage step, you can target one of them, its level becomes 4 or 8 until the end of the turn. Now, a card like this, yes, it is nice and generic. However, I do feel that it falls under if you have the rest or if you want to get the rest, because it is utilized and getting the most benefit from the Galaxy cards themselves. So Photons and Galaxy cards, level 8s, level 4s. It is quite specific, but it's definitely something that you could be looking into in order to kind of pick the deck out, especially if you are already previously a fan of the Galaxies, which I know, shout out to Joe, definitely is. We might as well continue with the XYZ, so let's look at the new generic rank 8, which is Gigantic Champion Sargas. This card is absolutely insane, as it just requires 2 or more level 8 monsters, and then once per turn you can also XYZ summon it using a Spring Gun XYZ you control. Transfer its materials to this card. While this card has materials, you can add a Spring Gun or Photon card from your deck to your hand. If material is detached from a monster or monsters on the field, so even your side or your opponent's, except during the damage step, you get to target one card on the field and either destroy it or return it to the hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So what sargas does provide is it does provide a very nice way of being able to rank up in sense on a Spring Gun to get into a Mega Fat Zeus. And it can also search you out something like your Photon King Regulus, which will become a free summon and an Omni Negate, which can be very, very important and very, very powerful. However, as good of a generic 8 it is, it still requires you to have said... it still wants you to be playing Spring Guns, it still wants you to be playing Phoons, so it is one of the ones that I would personally wait. I feel there is a lot of hype on this card right now. It is also something that comes under if you have the rest as well. But it's something that I feel at the moment when people read it, they'll be like, oh cool, it does this. And then they'll stop and think and go, ooh, actually, it's not as generic or as splashable as I first thought. It is good in a generic rank 8 deck that can get a machine to the graveyard. Keep that in mind because, like, in theory, you could play in Darkworlds as long as you're getting a machine to the graveyard, because then you make this with Darkworlds, 2 level 8s, you search out a Photon King Regulus, you then get to special summon down the Regulus, you've got a nice little Omni Negate on the board as well. It's great that it doesn't need to detach to do anything. It literally just keeps on searching. It doesn't need to detach to pop or anything like that. So one material is more than enough, which is why it's pretty cool to put it on a cheesed out Spring Gun XYZ. Now we're going to look at the staple spell cards. So let's start off with Triple Tactic Tasking. So this is, of course, the second of the Triple Tactics kind of cards. And if your opponent has activated a monster effect this turn, normal spell card, set one normal spell or trap directly from your deck except itself. It cannot be activated this turn, or if your opponent controls a monster, you can add that card to your hand instead. Now, this is a card that I think a lot of people are going to hype up because it's like, oh, it's a Triple Tactic card. And then again, once they read it and then think about the implications and the effectiveness of it, it's something that's then going to become a mech card or, more likely, a weight card. Again, it's another one of them ones that I feel pre-orders are like £40. I feel that it would definitely drop down to 20. It's not as effective as Talents because Talents is basically 3 banned cards in one. This will give you a nice access to a normal spell or trap, but ideally you need your opponent to be controlling a monster to add it to the hand and then go from there. Obviously, the card that is set cannot be activated that turn, but I believe if you add it to your hand, you are still good to activate it and you'll be absolutely fine. Now, let's move on to the final secret. The final secret is an OCG import. It is called Gravekeeper's Engraving. At the start of your main phase, 1, apply one of these effects to both players until the end of your opponent's turn. They cannot activate cards in the graveyard. They cannot banish cards from the graveyard. They cannot special summon monsters from the graveyard. So it basically says no to the graveyard. Now, keep in mind, it has to be at the start of main phase 1, so it does have a bit of a strong restriction, because it's one of the ones where if you draw it later on in the turn, it is completely useless. It also applies the effects to both players, so it means that you need to not want to be doing anything in the graveyard in order to kind of shut your opponent down for a turn. Now, when you are looking at something like a tier element deck, it is very good that you can lock them out of being able to activate cards in the graveyard, and also being able to special summon monsters from the graveyard or anything like that. Now, keeping in mind as well that tier do play just as much during your turn as they do during their turn, so it can be very important going first that you activate this, lock them out of being able to use stuff like Havness and everything else, and then they're stuck during their turn. Hopefully it's going to swing back round for you to do OTK. Now, at the very start, this card is definitely going to be a money card. A lot of people are going to be like, yo, what? I want this. I'm on this. I definitely need to get this. And then they'll stop and think about it a little bit more and go, ooh, actually, it's quite like Necro Valley. It will drop in and out of a format. So it will definitely then fall from a money card to a possible weight card to then be able to go, okay, I might wait for this. This might then become a £10 to £15 card. Pick up a playset and you're good to go. Now, obviously, as it stands right now with the format being tiers, Kashtiras and everything like that, it is incredibly powerful against tiers. If a balance does not drop to change anything, and Konami are hoping that this set is going to change the format for the good in order to kind of like slow your opponent down, you get to go from there, and it does give you another kind of option or another kind of side card. So, that is pretty much all 10 secrets. Another noticeable cards that you can keep on is the Bestial Druid Drake, I believe is the brand new one, is also a common, which is really, really good, but hopefully it's not short printed like the rest. Anyway, I hope you found this video informative and gives you a breakdown of what you should be doing with your cards if you pull them at sneak peek, cards that you might want to consider holding on to if the price isn't quite right, and cards that you need to be shifting straight away because they may fall in value later on in the time. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, guys, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.